What's up, guys? Welcome to day 12. Um, Before we get started, I would like to read Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10, where it says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And that ties into the story that we're gonna read today about Jacob and Esau. So yeah, we will be starting today with chapter 32. As Jacob started on his way again, angels of God came to meet him. When Jacob saw them, he exclaimed, "This is God's camp." So he named that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers ahead to his brother Esau, who was living in the region of Seir, in the land of Edom. He told them, "Give this message to my master Esau. Humble greetings from your servant Jacob. Until now, I have been living with Uncle Laban, and now I own cattle, donkeys, flocks of sheep and goats, and many servants, both men and women. I have sent these messengers to inform my lord of my coming, hoping that you will be friendly to me." After delivering the message, the messenger returned to Jacob and reported, "We met your brother Esau, and he is already on his way to meet you with an army of 400 men." Jacob was terrified at the news. He divided his household along with the flocks and birds and camels into two groups. He thought, if Esau meets one group and attacks it, perhaps the other group can escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my grandfather Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, you told me, return to your own land and to your relatives, and you promised me I will treat you kindly. I am not worthy of all the unfailing love and faithfulness you have shown to me, your servant. When I left home and crossed the Jordan River, I owned nothing except a walking stick. Now my household fills two large camps. O Lord, please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau. I am afraid that he is coming to kill me, to attack me, along with my wives and children. But you promised me, I will surely treat you kindly, and I will multiply your descendants until they become as numerous as the sands along the seashore, too many to count." Jacob stayed where he was for the night. Then he selected these gifts from his possessions to present to his brother Esau: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. He divided these animals into herds and assigned each to different servants. Then he told his servants, Go ahead of me with the animals, but keep some distance between the herds." He gave these instructions to the men leading the first group. "When my brother Esau meets you, he will ask, 'Whose your servant are you? Where you are going? Who owns these animals?' You must reply, 'They belong to your servant Jacob, and they are a gift for his master Esau. Look, he is coming right behind us.'" Jacob gave the same instructions to the second and third herdsmen and to all who followed behind the herds. "You must say the same thing to Esau when you meet him, and be sure to say, 'Look, your servant Jacob is right behind us.'" Jacob thought, "I will try to appease him by sending gifts ahead of him. When I see him in person, perhaps he will be friendly to me." So the gifts were sent on ahead, while Jacob himself spent the night in the camp. During the night, Jacob got up and took his two wives, his two servant wives, and his 11 sons, and crossed the Jabbok River with them. After taking them to the other side, he went over all his possessions. This left Jacob all alone in the camp, and a man came and wrestled with him until the dawn began to break. When the man saw that he would not win the match, he touched Jacob's hip, and wrenched it out of its sockets. Then the man said, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. He replied, "Jacob." "Your name will no longer be Jacob," the man told him. "From now on you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with the men and have won." "Please tell me your name," Jacob said. "Why do you want to know my name?" the man replied. Then he blessed Jacob there. Jacob named the place Peniel, which means face of God, for he said, "I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared." The sun was rising as Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of the injury to his hip. Even today, the people of Israel don't eat the tender near the hip socket because of what happened that night when the man strained the tendon of Jacob's hip. Chapter 33. Then Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and his 2 servant wives. He put the servant wives and their children at the front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then Jacob went on ahead. As he approached his brother, he bowed to the ground 7 times before him. Then Jacob ran to meet him, embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, and kissed him, and they both wept. Then Esau looked at the women and children and asked, "Who are these people with you?" "These are the children God has graciously given to me, your servant," Jacob replied. Then the servant wives came forward with their children and bowed before him. Then came Leah with her children, and they bowed before him. Finally, Jacob and Rachel came forward and bowed before him. "And what are the flocks and herds I met as I came?" Esau asked. Jacob replied, "They are a gift, my lord, to ensure your friendship." "My brother, I have plenty," Esau answered. "Keep what you have for yourself." But Jacob insists, "No, if I have found favor with you, please accept this gift for me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the face of God. Please take this gift I have brought you, for God has been very gracious to me. I have more than enough." But because Jacob insisted, Esau finally accepted the gift. "Well," Esau said, "let's be going. I will lead the way." But Jacob replied, "You can see, my lord, and some of the children are very young, and the flocks and herds have their young too. If they are driven too hard, even for one day, all the animals could die. Please, my lord, go ahead of your servant. We will follow slowly at the pace that is comfortable for the livestock and the children. I will meet you at Seir." "All right," Esau said, "but at least let me assign some of my men to guide and protect you." Jacob responded, "That's not necessary. It's enough that you have received me warmly, my lord." So Esau turned around and started back to Seir that same day. Jacob, on the other hand, traveled on to Succoth. There he built himself a house and made shelters for his livestock. This is why the place was named Succoth, which means shelters. Later, having traveled all the way from Padan Aram, Jacob arrived safely at the town of Shechem in the land of Canaan, where there he set up camp outside the town. Jacob bought the plot of land where he camped from the family of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. And there he built an altar and named it El Elohi Israel. Chapter 34. One day, Dinah, the daughter of Jacob and Leah, went to visit some of the young women who lived in the area. But when the local prince, Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, saw Dinah, he seized her and raped her. But then he fell in love with her, and he tried to win her affection with tender words. He said to his father Hamor, "Give me this young girl. I want to marry her." Soon Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled his daughter Dinah. But since his sons were out in the fields herding his livestock, he said nothing until they returned. Hamor, Shechem's father, came to discuss the matter with Jacob. Meanwhile, Jacob's sons had come in from the field. As soon as they heard what had happened, they were shocked and furious that their sister had been raped. Shechem had done a disgraceful thing against Jacob's family, something that should never be done. Hamor tried to speak with Jacob and his sons. "My son, Shechem is truly in love with you, or in love with your daughter," he said. "Please let him marry her. In fact, let's arrange other marriages too. You give us your daughters for our sons, and we will give you our daughters for your sons. And you may live among us. The land is open to you. Open to you. Settle here and trade with us, and feel free to buy property in the area." Then Shechem himself spoke to Dinah's father and brothers. "Please be kind to me and let me marry her," he begged. "I will give you whatever you ask, no matter what draft or gift you demand. I will gladly pay it. Just give me the girl as my wife." But since Shechem had defiled their sister Dinah, Jacob's sons responded deceitfully to Shechem and his father Hamor. They said to him, "We couldn't possibly allow this because you are not circumcised. It would be a disgrace for our sister to marry a man like you. But here is a solution. If every man among you will be circumcised like us, then we will give you our daughters, and we'll take your daughters for ourselves. We will live among you and become one people. But if you don't agree to the circumcised, we will take her and be on our way." Hamor and his son Shechem agreed to the proposal. Shechem wasted no time in acting on this request, for he wanted Jacob's daughter desperately. Shechem was a true, highly respected member of his family, and he went with his father Hamor to present this proposal to the leaders at the town's gate. "These men are our friends," they said. "Let's invite them to live here among us and trade freely. Look, the land is large enough to hold them. We can take their daughters as wives and let them marry ours. But we will consider staying here and becoming one people with us only if all of our men are circumcised just as they are. But if we do this, all their livestock and possessions will eventually be ours. Come, let's agree to their terms and let them settle here among us." So all the men in the town council agreed with Hamor and Shechem, and every male in the town was circumcised. But 3 days later, when their wounds were still sore, 2 of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, who were Dinah's full brothers, took their swords and entered the town without opposition. They slaughtered every male there, including Hamor and his wife Shechem. They killed them with their swords, then took Dinah from Shechem's house and returned to their camp. Meanwhile, the rest of Jacob's sons arrived, finding the men slaughtered. They plundered the town because their daughter had been defiled there. They seized all the all the flocks and herds and donkeys, everything they could lay their hands on, both inside the town and outside in the fields. They looted all their wealth and plundered their houses. They also took all their little children and wives and led them away as captives. Afterwards, Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have ruined me. You've made me a stink among all the people of this land, among all the Canaanites and Perizzites. We are so few that they will join forces and crush us. I will be ruined, and my entire household will be wiped out. But why should we let him treat our sister like a prostitute?" they retorted angrily. Chapter 35. Then God said to Jacob, "Get ready and move to Bethel and settle there. Build an altar there to the God who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." So Jacob told everyone in his household, "Get rid of all your pagan idols, purify yourselves, and put on clean clothing. We are now going to Bethel, where I will build an altar to the God who answered my prayers when I was in distress. He has been with me wherever I have gone." So they gave Jacob all the pagan idols and earrings, and he buried them under the great tree near Shechem. As they set out, a terror from God spread over the people in the area of that land, so no one attacked Jacob's family. Eventually, Jacob and his household arrived at Luz, also called Bethel in Canaan. Jacob built an altar there and named the place El Bethel, which means God of Bethel, because God has appeared to him there when he was fleeing from his brother Esau. Soon after this, Rebekah's old nurse Deborah died. She was buried under the oak tree in the valley below Bethel. Ever since, the tree has been called Alon Beketh, which means oak of weeping. Now that Jacob had returned from Padan Aram, God appeared to him again at Bethel. God blessed him, saying, "Your name is Jacob, but you will not be called Jacob any longer, for from now on your name will be Israel." So God renamed him Israel. Then God said, "I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. You will become a great nation, and every nation's kings will be among your descendants. And I will give you the land I once gave to Abraham and Isaac. Yes, I will give it to you and your descendants after you." Then God went up from the place where he had spoken to Jacob. Jacob set up a stone pillar to mark the place where God had spoken to him. Then he poured wine over it as an offering to God and anointed the pillar with olive oil. And God named the place Bethel, which means house of God, because God has spoken to him there. Leaving Bethel, Jacob and his clan moved out toward Euphrates. But Rachel went into labor while they were still some distance away. Her labor pains were intense. After a hard delivery, the midwife fully exclaimed, "Don't be afraid, you have another son." Jacob was about to die, but with her last breath she named the baby Ben-Oni, which means son of my sorrow. Then the baby's father, however, named him Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Euphrates, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a stone monument over Rachel's grave, and it could be seen there to this day. Then Jacob traveled on and camped beyond Migdal Ador. While he was living there, Reuben had intercourse with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Jacob soon heard about it. These are the names of the 12 sons of Jacob. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servants, were Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zempah, Leah's servant, were Gad and Asher. These are the names of sons who were born to Jacob at Padan Aram. So Jacob returned to his father Isaac in Mamre, which is near Kiriath Abba, which called Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had both lived as foreigners. And so that will end the time for today. So yeah, the first thing I noticed is how Jacob met a lot of angels on his way to meet Esau and stuff, and how I've always wondered how Jacob sees Esau as he finally met him stuff, because it's like, at least in the Bible, it talks a lot about how Jacob was like sending all these gifts to Esau as a way to like humble himself before Esau. But I've always wondered if Jacob was actually had any sense of remorse for what he'd done to Esau by stealing his birthright and his blessings. But though I think what's clear is that Esau has clearly forgiven Jacob for what he has done, and I'm sure it still hurts Esau like a lot. But at the same time, I think that he was a true hero by looking at Jacob beyond the mistakes that Jacob has made against him, and that he was willing to forgive Jacob for what he has done, and willing to trying to build a new relationship with his brother, which is like remarkable, because a lot of times when we get hurt by somebody, we are so either we just possibly cannot forgive them for what they have done for us, or if we're not willing to. And it is really hard for everybody, because forgiving really means it's not to dismiss somebody's terrible actions, but it's just not seeing the person, not letting their bad mistakes define who they are as a person. So like Esau, for example, he could have seen Jacob as this thief and this very untrustworthy, very selfish brother of his that he cannot trust, and he has all the right to think like that. But it's just him saying, okay, Jacob, I see you this way before, but I'm giving you a chance, saying that you could prove me wrong by I don't know how to phrase that, by changing in a sense where Esau would not feel afraid of Jacob stealing something else from him once he meets up with Jacob again. And so that's always Esau is just really a very underrated hero in a sense, I have to say. It's like the man forgave Jacob for what he has done, taken the high road, and welcomed his brother into embracing arms, which I hope that we can all learn from. It's forgiving is not easy. I'm not gonna lie to you all. Forgiving it hurts, but at the same time, it hurts, and it is hard, and it hurts, but also at the same time, it can be really rewarding. So yeah, I just hope that we can follow the example that Esau has set for us. And so, yes, Jacob was very humbling, being humiliated. I mean, not humiliated. Being humbled, I guess. Yeah, because he keeps on calling Esau as his master, which wouldn't make any sense because Esau's like literally like seconds older than him. But it's just for Jacob to like call his brother a master, just to show him being really humbled and also showing a lot of respect for his brother and stuff. And so like forgiving people, sometimes we have a hard time respecting each other. So yeah, that could be also something we can all work on stuff. Forgiving people, and then also after forgiving them, we have to learn to be respectful. Or like, is it the other way around? Anyways, it's like we have to have those two qualities of forgiving and respecting the person who has hurt us. And so yeah, then we came to this famous story of Jacob wrestling with an angel. It's always interesting how like there wasn't like a whole lot of communication going on between Jacob and the angel before they wrestled. It just like, I mean, I probably assume there was a conversation that happened between Esau and between Jacob and the angel that the Bible did not mention, but it just always fascinates me how like, oh, there comes a man. Let me just go wrestle him just for the sake of it. But yeah, Jacob is a very stubborn man. I don't know if you have noticed that or not, but stubborn with like Rachel is like he's willing to work 17 or 14 years to get Rachel as his wife. And stubborn how like he would somehow like run away from Laban without Laban realizing it until it was too late. And now here, him wrestling against an angel and will not let go until the angel blesses him stuff. And so yeah, Jacob became Israel, which means Jacob, it means because you have fought with God, with man, and have won. I mean, I don't know how that's a really blessing, to be honest. It's just like a title, I guess. So, but it's always intriguing how like Jacob was willing to struggle through the pain to be able to get his blessing. And for us, it's like sometimes we just don't want this painful thing to keep happening to us, and so we want it to end. We are not like patient enough, or we are not willing to endure any more pain, much longer to be able to receive the final award. And so I feel like Jacob set a great example of being the one who's patient, who's also stubborn in a good way, to be able to receive the blessing that he's asking for. But I understand how hard it is to keep faith with God, even through all of the pain and struggles. But just rest in peace knowing that God will eventually fulfill his promise. And like all he's asking us is to be faithful to him even through pain, because the reward would outweigh the pain by a big margin. And so yeah, we should always keep faith and know that God is for us, and that God again will keep his promise, because that he is a God of his words and stuff. And so yeah, then Esau and Jacob coming together wept. Oh baby, I could see like how it's really emotional. Like back then, like if I was one of the Jacob's servants or Esau's servant and saw those two together, I would get emotional as well, because it's been like a long time since Jacob has seen his brother, and for them to finally meet, you would have thought there would be a lot of tension, and there probably is. But at the end of the day, they were able to resolve the issues, which is all that matters. The pain are a big deal. But each of them are able to look past the pain and forgive one another, especially Esau, which I really admire and stuff. And so yeah, they were able to forgive one another. Jacob was insistent about Jacob keeping the flocks, keeping his gifts as a way to really show how sorry he is, maybe for what he has done to Esau in the past and stuff. And so Dinah, I think that's how you say her name, the daughter of Jacob and Leah being raped, and how this is just like so messed up. I just never understood why Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, thinks that if he rapes her, he will fall in love with her. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's just like, I thought it's always like, if you lust after somebody, and then that lust gets out of control, and then you rape somebody. I always thought that's what the case is, but Shechem's thing is really interesting. It's like, how can you rape somebody and then love them? It doesn't make any sense. Like, after he has literally like invaded her innocence in her privacy and all her in her private, invading her privacy, how he's trying to win her affection. It's like the damage is being done. You can't just say, oh, no, I'm not even gonna start. It just feels like there are some times where what you have done is so bad that there are no words that you can say that can heal that wound, because that is like literally impossible to do, especially like for Dinah to feel affection towards a man who raped her. I can't imagine what Dinah has to go through, all the trauma that this spoiled prince went through. Oh, what the spoiled prince did to her, and for her to say, oh, or for him to ask her to fall in love with him. I can't imagine how traumatizing that has to be. But yeah, it's just really sad. It's extremely sad. And it's just the fact how like the king is no better than the prince. It's like the king wants to get something out, like get something good. Like, he is so self-focused, so selfish. It's like when Jacob and his family offered to be part of their country or nation, that all they had to do is get circumcised and they could be part of their people. And you would thought, oh, that's good. It's like be part of their group. But it's just the fact when the king talks to the leaders of the town, saying in verse 23 of chapter 34, where it says, but if we do this, all their livestock and possessions will eventually be ours. Come, let us agree to their terms and let them settle here among us. It's like there is no peace when he says something like that. It's like once he has that under his control, he will just take whatever he wants. He has no sense of honor or respect for Jacob and his family. It's just very horrendous how he could think like that. After what his son did to Jacob's daughter. It's like, what can you do that to make things worse? Well, he has already proven it. It's like, okay, Jacob, my son's taking your wife, like raped your daughter. Okay, now let me take all your possessions once you join our cult, I guess, basically. or a nation. It's like that's horrendous. It's like, how could you do that to a group of people who has done absolutely nothing to you and your family, causing dishonor and horror, causing horror towards Jacob's family? It just doesn't make any sense. And how just the fact how they, whenever I hear this term give our daughters to your sons, it's like it's just like such a terrible language to use. It's like, again, Book of Genesis has a lot of really messed up idea of what women are. They think that women is just basically to go make men happy. That's all they see basically. And so they have this mentality of like women, daughters are just a thing, an object. They don't see their daughters as live human beings who also has human emotions, who are like them. They should see them as like, oh, our daughters is just like humans that does not have like any emotions and stuff like that. So obviously that's why Shechem, that's how he sees Dinah, is this object, and that's why he raped her and stuff. And I don't know how much love he actually has for, like, what I don't sometimes I wonder how much love men back in the day actually has for women, because of all the stuff, because of the way they describe women in their lives as just an object, or like something that just produces kids so that their names could live on, which is a terrible reason to have sex, is so that you can have your generation so that your name does not get wiped out of existence. It's like, yeah, it just causes a lot of anger in me. It's like, stop it, guys. And so yes, I don't understand why Jacob, I guess I understand in a sense why Jacob got mad, but at the same time, I hope that Jacob understands why Simeon and Levi did what they did and stuff. Because the men in the town doesn't seem to be that great either, so but yeah, at the same time I do understand Jacob's anger. It's like, why would you wipe out a whole city for the evil actions of a few and stuff? So I mean, I guess they don't wipe out the whole everybody. They do, from what they said, yeah, it may just sound like it's just the men that they killed and nothing else, and they just had their kids and wives being captives and stuff. So I guess that's something good. Like, Jacob's family didn't kill them. So, but yeah, men back in the day, men are not good people. They were evil as heck. And then just the fact how, like, till this day, there are still people out in the world that does the same exact thing. It's like they don't learn from history, they repeat history, which, it's like, what's the point of learning history if you're not gonna do anything to change history, like to change your actions so history does not repeat itself? It just feels like history keeps repeating itself with what men does to women and how women are being viewed from men back then and still now. So I just hope that sometime we're gonna be able to learn from our past and stuff, not repeat our past and stuff. Yeah, Jacob died. Oh yeah, Rachel died. How's it a good idea to name a kid Benoni, which means son of my sorrow? That just seems to be such a dumb name, because it's like, imagine Benjamin being like living with the name of Benoni all of his life. it's like, is he supposed to feel guilty that his mother happens to die when he came out, when he came into the world? It's like, it's not Benanoi's fault for the death of Rachel, so yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It just seems silly to name the kid because of how your emotions are back then. But I am happy that Jacob was able to see the positive of the situation of the death of Rachel. It's like he sees a son, he has another son, and he names him son of my right hand as something that's positive and stuff. And so yeah, that will end our time for today. There were a lot of stuff being talked about and stuff. And as we leave our, again, I will always read. Let me read Romans chapter 12, verse 2, where it says, Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. And so yeah, all that is to say, don't fall in love with the corrupt world. Don't live in the world, because that's how the world basically pollutes our spiritual life. It chokes out our spiritual life. And so yeah, don't do the things that was being mentioning here from today with men raping. Just don't go rape anybody. That just seems to be like a big, I mean, it just seems to be the most common sense thing for people to do. They don't go rape people. And so yeah, it's like for you to, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like, which part of the command do you not understand about not raping somebody? It's like, just don't. It's not gonna do anybody any good and stuff. If you got like lust issues, go figure it out. Wait, actually, if you have lust issues, go talk to like a professional, like counselor or a pastor or someone who you trust, who's not gonna feed you more lust and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, talk to somebody who can help you conquer your lust, not feed you more lust. And so yeah, that, and also realizing that it is good to sometimes wrestle with God, because when you wrestle with God, God will show more of Himself to you, so that you may also understand who He is and how He can fit into your life. And then last of all, I understand how hard it is to forgive jerks and people who has done wrongs against us. It is hard to forgive, but I just hope that you'll understand that when you truly forgive somebody, the reward is so much better. You could like feel the weight off your heart, knowing that you have done all you can. You have given this person a second chance to redeem themselves by forgiving them, and then the next time they do it, it's up to them with what they do. Like if they do it again, well, it's like you have to understand, like, you have given them a chance to change, and if they don't change, it is really up on they really put that on themselves. And so yeah, other than that, I don't have much else to say except just go and walk with God in your daily life.